Hi, I'm Blessing. Welcome to the first session of Home Economics course. Today, we'll be starting with introduction to Home Economics with contents like brief history of Home Economics, major areas of Home Economics, relationship between Home Economics and other related subjects, career opportunities in Home Economics, and the importance of Home Economics to individual, family, and nation. Now, brief history of Home Economics. Before formal education, young girls were taught homemaking skills such as cooking, sewing, and childcare by the women in the family, and the young boys were taught farming and trades, that is, trading the goods they get from the farm by the men in the family. Years later, when formal education began in the 19th century in the US and other countries, scientific principles were applied to domestic life, with key figures like Catherine Beaker and Ellen Richards promoting its growth through the Marine Act in 1862 and the Lake Placid Conference between 1899 to 1908. It was known as domestic science, which only focused on cooking, sewing, and child care, before it then expanded to include nutrition, sanitation, child development, and various vocational areas, which gave it the name Home Economics. Now, what is Home Economics? Home Economics is a broad field of study that teaches us how to manage ourselves, our resources, and our household. It therefore deals with the management of material and non-material things in the family, such as people, money, food, clothing, and housing. It prepares people to use what they have in creative ways to get what they need. Now, the major areas in Home Economics. We have 7 major areas in Home Economics, which are food and nutrition, clothing and textile, home management, consumer education, housing and interior decoration, child development, and family relations. The areas mentioned will be studied in depth in the coming session, but I'm just going to give you a brief understanding of what they are. First is food and nutrition. This deals with food and nutrients. 2 is clothing and textile. This just deals with the study of textile, designing, and sewing of clothes. 3, home management. Deals with the processes of using things the family has to obtain things the family needs. 4, consumer education. Teaches people how to make wise decisions in selecting and buying of goods and services. 5, housing and interior decoration. Deals with the provision of housing for the family. 6, child development and care. Deals with how the child grow and develop. 7 is the family relation. This deals with how the family live in the family. 6, child development and care. Deals with how children grow and develop. 7 is family relations. This deals with how people live in the family. The relationship between Home Economics and other related subjects are chemistry, biology, history, physics, mathematics, economics, sociology, geography, psychology, fine and applied arts, agriculture, engineering, and computer science. Home Economics draws knowledge from these different subjects. For example, chemistry. Chemistry teaches us the nutrients of a food, its properties, the components, and effect on it on it. Physics. Physics helps us to understand the working of a refrigerator and electricity in the home. Mathematics. Mathematics helps us to know the quantities and the calculation of food used in the home. Biology. Biology helps us to know about plants and animals, food groups, and the different parts of the body and how they function. And the last example I'll give is psychology. Psychology helps us to understand how a child grows, how the child develops, how the child thinks, just to understand everything about a child or everything about an individual in the home, how to understand how people are, how to understand how the family live together, how to be in a person's shoe, how to understand a person properly and very well.